With Christmas just around the corner, our friends over at Triton have asked us to come up with something to make their headquarters feel a little bit more festive.
So we figured, why not build them a giant wooden Christmas tree? Let's get on with it.
To kick things off, we've bought a load of these planed pine strips, which are 34mm wide. Now these come in 2.4 meter lengths, which is much too wide for the widest part on our tree, so we're going to cut these in half. We simply laid them on their side, clamped them all together, and used our track saw to rip through all of them at once.
We then put all of these strips together and cut through them again, but this time at an angle which left us with a bunch of different length pieces.
Our largest track wasn't quite long enough to get all the way through these strips, so we used the connectors to add a second piece of track just to cut the last few strips.
We then had the arduous task of sorting all of these strips by size on our workshop floor. Luckily, it just about fit.
Once they were all sorted, we could mark the locations to square off the ends of each of the strips. Most of the time, this was at the end of the strip, but this gave us a chance to even everything out, so we'd end up with a nice gentle taper.
We're using our belt sander to square off the end of each of those strips, and it comes with these handy mounting clamps to mount it to the table upside down, which makes it nice and easy when sanding loads of different pieces.
Once they were all squared up, we hand sanded every strip to knock down any sharp edges and smoothen everything out. Because we bought these as plain timber, this didn't take long per strip, but since we have over 200 pieces, this whole process took a couple of hours.
Next up, we needed to drill a hole in the exact centre of each of these strips. To do this, we set up a quick jig on our pillar drill, which helped the whole process go really quickly.
Right, onto the base. Since this tree is going to end up around 9 feet tall, we wanted to make sure this base was chunky enough to keep everything nice and sturdy.
So we picked up this 70 by 70mm beam and used our mitre saw to cut it to length. The side supports worked an absolute treat to keep this long beam stable when cutting.
We're turning these beams into an X-shaped base, joined in the middle with crossed-up joints. To cut these joints, we're lining them all up, clamping them together, and using our track saw again.
We lined the two edges of the cut nice and carefully, and then we ran the track saw through these multiple times to remove the waste. We could then use a chisel to pop out the waste and then tidy up that bottom edge ready for a test fit, and this was ridiculously satisfying.
We made two X's at the same time, one slightly smaller than the other, so we could put that one on top to give the base just a little bit more mass overall. To make these look a little bit nicer, we cut some deep chamfers on the corners before gluing them all together.
Once dry, the base needed the same size hole that we did for the slats for the metal pole to go into. Since the base was so deep, we had to use an extra long Forstner bit to get that extra depth that we needed.
Now that's all the parts made, but since our workshop is so small, there's literally no way we can test to see if this works.
So we're going to head on up to Triton HQ and hope that this all fits together as planned. So there you go, it all fit together perfectly and we're loving the effect of that spiral pattern.
We even made Triton a custom saw blade star, but the only way we could get it to the top of this massive tree was for me to jump on Jonny's shoulders.
And since it's Christmas, the last thing to do to make this feel even more festive is to add some presents under the tree.
So thanks very much for watching, and all we have left to say is we hope you have a fantastic Christmas from Triton Tools and Brothers Make.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.